this evening, but before we do that, we'll look for action on the minutes of our last meeting. Is there a motion on the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our minutes from the February 3rd meeting are approved. And we will now move into the hearings that are scheduled for this evening. Just by way of introduction for anyone who is unfamiliar with our process in these hearings, as each application is announced from the podium, we ask that the applicant or their representative come forward to the podium, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application. Following any questions or clarification from the members of the commission, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to come forward to do so, providing their name and address and then their comments for the record. Similarly, we will provide an opportunity for those who wish to speak in opposition to the application to come forward and do the same. And where there are comments made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to the podium and address those comments made in opposition. So with that as a framework, we'll begin with our first hearing for this evening.
Good evening, Commission members. Mr. Kulik, the first public hearing this evening is a continuation from January 13th and also February 3rd of 2020. This is SP 2003, a special permit for a restaurant at 1706 Erie Boulevard East. 1700 Realty Inc. is the owner, and Isa Torres Lopez is the applicant, and the property lies within an industrial Class A zoning district.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please come forward.
Good evening. Ed Keplinger, Keplinger Freeman Associates, 6320 Fly Road, East Syracuse. Let's see, I'll take this. You're all familiar with the project, correct?
We are.
Presented before, so I'll just go over the site plan changes. It's
Perfect.
the last time
what we were hoping to do.
the project was here. So what we've done is we now have 20 parking spaces. They're all 9 by 18. We have a 24-foot drive aisle in from Erie Boulevard East as well as from Columbus. We've added, we have the post and chain fencing located along Columbus. It actually starts from the south property line. There's a short section south of the entrance driveway, then it continues along the parking stalls, makes a right turn along Erie Boulevard East, and then we have a short section near the on the east side of the driveway. We've now added a lawn or landscaping for compliance with the planting strip. The planting strip is 8 feet wide south of the driveway. North of the driveway, it tapers from 11.7 down to 5 foot 5 inches or so. And then on the north side of the parking stall, we're at 8 feet, roughly 8 feet, 7 foot 11 is what the plan shows, and it tapers down to 5. On the east side of the driveway, we've added some daylilies in the plant bed there, since that's going to be a pretty extreme environment. It's not a very big plant bed. It's surrounded with asphalt, so we wanted to go with something that could be maintainable and durable. Let's see, we have one ADA parking stall, and I think that is the overview of where we're at.
Thank you for summarizing those changes and for making those changes. Are there questions for the applicant?
Actually, a question for staff. At the plan in our, on my staff report, I don't see the chain that you said is south of the entranceway, so I don't think.
Right here?
Yeah, I don't see it on our drawing as marked as that, so I'm just wondering if.
So, Ed, we're looking at L1.
Okay, and that's the only plan we have.
Yep.
Do you want to just take a look?
Oh, yeah. It's not on.
Yeah, so that's an updated drawing then? Okay, because I think what you just talked about is better, so it's just not that it's not on our drawing.
Did you ever submit that?
I did.
Bless you.
Is it not on
Well, February 13th is the latest one that we have.
And this one says February 6th that I have, unless I, Did I open like an older?
The one in your
I may
agenda,
have updated the staff report, and she did not necessarily download the correct one,
Did I not download the right one?
the latest one.
Yeah, we made a series
Okay.
of submissions.
My fault, I apologize. But as long as it's what we have on record, that's all.
Is that the 6th?
Oh, so Steve has a 6-2.
No, they don't have.
Oh, well, good, I feel better about that.
why they don't-
Went on the technology problem.
They should.
okay, so we have it.
Okay.
It didn't apparently translate to Google Docs as we had hoped. So this is acceptable to the commission. This is what we have.
Okay.
It does increase the landscape buffer. Well, it adds a landscape buffer.
Right.
Just I'll just explain the topography of the shape of the lot
Right.
is odd, so that's why it has to taper. But it is 3 feet more on
Right.
one area.
But it was really the mention of the post and chain.
Okay.
That I noticed, and then the daylily bed are not marked on our drawing. Again, both of which are an improvement over what we already
Okay.
have, I think. I'm sorry. And I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Additional questions or points of clarification? Sir, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So we have no additional speakers. We've confirmed that what was presented tonight we do have in the office file. So I think we're at a place where we can now close this hearing and move to our next one. Thank you very much, and thanks for returning with these changes.
Next public hearing is R 2006. This is a re-subdivision to combine 2 properties into 1 new lot. This is at 232 to 234 and 236 to 238 Elk Street. Samuel Perry and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants. And both properties lie within a residential class AA zoning district.
Taisha Martin with NIDA, 101 Gertrude Street, Syracuse, New York, 13203. Here on behalf of the re-subdivision of 23234 and 23638 Elk Street. 23234 Elk Street was acquired by the Land Bank in the spring of 2015. The 2-family property on it was demolished this May, and rather than leave the property vacant, the Land Bank would like to sell the lot to the owner, the adjacent owner at 23638 Elk Street, Mr. Samuel Perry. We believe that this is in the best interest of the community and the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant? Thank you so much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No further speakers. We'll declare this hearing closed and move to our next hearing. Plural.
All right, the next 3 public hearings are companion pieces. You have seen these before. Z2827 is a change of zoning for 1 additional property to a planned development district. This is 225 to 231 Richmond Avenue, and this is to change the zoning designation from residential class A to planned development district. Renali ALA and Richmond UAS Properties LLC are the owners and applicants, a petitioner to change the zoning. The next public hearing is the re-subdivision. It's R 2008, and this is to combine 7 properties into 2 new lots. 161 to 213, 221 to 223, and 225 to 231 Richmond Avenue. 538 and 576 Tracy Street, 115 Van Rensselaer Street, and 738 to 766 and 770 Erie Boulevard West. Rinaldi ALA LLC and Richmond UAS Properties LLC are the owners and applicants, and the properties are a combination of residential Class A, which is the Richmond Ave 225 to 231, and the rest are Planned Development District. The reason these are all listed is because the re-subdivision map previously was never filed, so they are just adding this other one. And the third companion public hearing is Z2825M1. This is a Planned Development District Plan amendment, so this would be an amendment to the original plan that involved those other properties to include the Richmond Avenue property at 161 to 213, 221 to 223, and 225 to 231 Richmond Avenue, 538 and 576 Tracy Street, 115 Van Rensselaer Street, 738 to 766, and 770 Erie Boulevard West. Rinaldi ALA and Richmond UAS Properties are the owner and applicant, and this is these are all Planned Development District and one residential Class A. That's it.
Podium, we're going to 2 new lots? The re-subdivision is to create 2 new lots?
Yes. So I'll have Paul Farber explain that. Yeah, that's it.
And so this is not unusual for us to take several applications at once. We hit the trifecta tonight with 3. They are all interrelated, and certainly from a presentation standpoint, it makes much more sense for the applicant to present the overall picture of what's happening across all 3 applications. When the time comes for action, the commission will act separately on each individual application.
Good evening. Thank you. Brian Bouchard with CHA Consulting. This is, as Heather mentioned, a project that we saw before, and prior to filing the subdivision map and starting the construction, the additional parcel became available, and it was obviously in the best interest of the owner to acquire that parcel. And I brought the old plan just to kind of show you exactly what was happening with this. This is the plan that we had approved before. You could see there was really this missing piece, if you will, that rendered a bunch of the land kind of unusable just because of the shape of it. And by acquiring that additional parcel, it makes a little bit more room available both for the building square footage and for the loading dock that's out front. So this is the same project, it's the same warehouse and the same owner, just having acquired that additional piece to kind of square things off. Not to go back through the whole backstory, but if you remember in June of last year, we explained United Auto Supply used to have their headquarters at 450 Tracy Street, which is right here. They added additions onto that building many times until a point where they basically outgrew the space and they had an opportunity to purchase the PNC warehouse, which is a much bigger facility and shared amongst tenants. And they've since leased that building out to a different tenant. Marcellus Casket, the former Marcellus Casket, which burned down, was completely renovated and is now the home of Rural Metro and some office space within that building that was redeveloped. And this is the former, portions of it are the former industry of Roth Steel. And the site is basically vacant at this time. So the summary is really that this application is the same project, just a slightly larger footprint, and to square things off with that additional parcel, which is why we're coming back to you for the 3 different items, because they're all impacted by that additional land.
So the second parcel is the this piece over here to the east.
So it'll be 6 existing parcels that are being combined into 2 new lots. This is the warehouse lot that's outlined in red. Mm-hmm. There's a piece of the former Tracy Street that's really, it's a private driveway now that connects the 2, so that would be the second lot.
Okay, which is what we looked at before, but you never
Exactly.
finished that process, so we're looking at it.
Correct. We held the subdivision map when this idea started coming about so that it didn't have to be filed and then refiled, so.
Thank you.
Questions?
I'm good.
Thank you. Nice summary. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of any one of the three applications before us at the moment? In favor of any of the three? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to any of the three applications before us right now? If so, please come forward. Okay, we have no additional speakers. We will declare the hearings closed and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is R2009. This is a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into 2 new lots at 1615, 1617 to 1619, and 1621 to 1623 South Salina Street. Syracuse Model Neighborhood Corporation and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants. Properties lie within a residential Class B and residential Class AA zoning district. And we did receive comments from the Preservation Board today that I think Jeff has as a handout.
So, thank you. So if the applicant is here, would you please come forward and provide a summary of the application?
Thank you. I'm Caitlin Wright with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street. Before you, we are proposing a lot line adjustment where we're buying approximately 3/4 of 16, what is currently known as 1617-19 South Salina Street. We made a purchase offer on this lot to acquire it from Syracuse Model Neighborhood Corporation, and then upon surveying it, found out that it actually contained the driveway for their house next door at 1615, and they didn't really want to part with the driveway, which is accessory parking for their single-family rental house there, but they were willing to part with the rest of it. So we're looking to assemble a large parcel that extends much further south from this point. 1619, which we currently own, was acquired via tax foreclosure just within the past few months. But to the south of that, we have the parcel that used to contain the Gothic Cottage and the New Jerusalem Church next door. Our goal is to put together a large parcel of land here that will issue a request for proposals and try to find a developer to build on. Could be single-family housing, could be multifamily housing, all of that is kind of to be determined. So the larger re-subdivision that'll come at a future date will come once we have all of that figured out. After we do the RFP process, select a developer, they'll have to come up with a site plan and go through the whole project site review process. We're just not to that point yet. What's necessary at this point is just this small piece of the resub, because if we let Syracuse Model Neighborhood Corporation keep the driveway and merge it with their house next door at 1615, then what we'd be left with, the L-shaped piece that we'd be purchasing, would be a small, irregular, non-conforming parcel, and that's why we need to merge it with the one next door.
Larger parcel that you're assembling with some potential future idea is the southern portion of this.
Yes, so it would include the piece that we're purchasing, the L-shaped piece that we're purchasing from Syracuse Model Neighborhood Corporation, 1619, and then all the way down to 1641. It would be approximately a 1-acre site, and our reason for wanting to purchase this piece from Syracuse Model Neighborhood Corporation is that eventually, when it is developed, we don't want to see curb cuts onto South Salina Street, which is a relatively busy street. So this would connect to a piece of land that we own on East Kennedy Street, and it would allow vehicle traffic to enter and exit, parking in the rear off of Kennedy.
So essentially, the new Lot 2B is what would be attached to the rest of this stuff later on.
Correct.
For the applicant? Thank you.
You have no idea, like, what potentially we...
Well, it's a residential Class B zoning district, so it could be single-family homes, it could be two families, it could be a large apartment building. We're going to try to cast as wide a net as possible and advertise this parcel as available, and see what the development community comes up with.
Question for staff?
Yes.
Would we likely review whatever that proposal is in the future?
Well, I was just going to say, please come talk to me or our office, because the Kennedy Street, East Kennedy Street is different zoning, so access might be challenging to come in from there, depending on what the use is of the RB piece. But to answer your question, it could. It depends on if it needs any waivers, if it's just a project site review, if it's a special permit. I mean, we're not sure yet, because you don't know.
Right, we'll have to see what kind of proposals come in, and then I would also assume that we would want to consult with the Landmark Preservation Board when reviewing these proposals, because this would be new construction in a National Register district.
And that's where I was going to go. I would just suggest that anything you put in your RFP lets folks know that way up front.
Absolutely.
We'll probably end up having a pre-development meeting or something like that, or mini pre-development meeting.
Yeah.
Just to get some advice and go through some things. But yes, we'll
I just
keep you apprised.
Given the history of what happens between a pre-development meeting and when folks get here, I think if there's advice in the RFP that says that this is a National Register district, and there's a certain character in terms of density, a lot set up, scale of buildings, detailing, yada, yada, the sooner any prospective developer knows that, the easier the official review process will be after the pre-development meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have any questions? Okay. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward.
I oppose it. I live at 106 East
Can
Kennedy.
you say your name and address?
Deanna Holland, 106 East Kennedy Street. So the parcel she's talking about for the driveway, that's right next door to my house. So it's just adjacent to my house. So you will be coming in through Kennedy, which is a narrow street. We already have a traffic issue. So we talking about individual houses coming through why can't they go through Salina Street? Just as the church had a driveway over there previously, but coming through Kennedy is so narrow, we already have traffic issues. And we're not aware of it. No one on Kennedy is aware of what's going on at all.
So the driveway situation would be for the future development, not the piece we're talking about now? So again, I guess what I would suggest is any RFP you have, maybe instruct the developers to consider both options, access from Kennedy as well as maybe a single controlled access point at Salina, which would be better than multiple driveways. So maybe we can take the neighbors' concerns into account by giving directions to the developers somewhere down in the future whenever they pursue that part.
And that lot at 104, it actually belonged to me at one point in time, but the city, I didn't get my letter in time because there was a change of address, and I lived there. And so the mail, I had my letter from the postal office that my mail was going to a different residence. So that's how the city was able to obtain the property from me, which they gave it to the land bank. I called the land bank to try to get the property back. But the children in the neighborhood, we use that. That's their playground. That's where, from the State Street to Kennedy Street, that's where all the kids play. We play kickball, water fights, everything is in that lot. That lot means a lot. We have neighborhood cookouts in that lot that they're talking about turning into a driveway. The apartment building across the street from me, 107 East Kennedy, they have no playground. So they use that lot as their playground. So you'll be taking an important piece of our community away from us if you try to turn it into a driveway. And besides the fact, all the lights will flash right out my bedroom. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The applicant, you have opportunity to address some of those concerns if You choose.
Just to state that the 104 East Kennedy portion is not technically part of today's application. That'll be considered at a future date.
You. And let me just make one last call. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. Okay, I think we've accommodated everyone who wishes to speak. We'll close this hearing and move to our next hearing.
The last public hearing is 3S2005. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision review in the town of Clay. This is JRT Properties LLC subdivision, and this is to combine 2 properties into 1 new lot, 5244 and 5250 West Taft Road. Charles Hefner is the owner and applicant.
If the applicant is here, please come forward. Or representative of the applicant? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So no presenter or speaker for this 3-mile limit case, not terribly unusual. I just want to confirm that the application as it now stands in the office is complete. Okay, so we'll close this hearing. And I believe that completes our roster of hearings for this evening. We will circle back and look for action on those hearings held this evening. The first one being the special permit for the restaurant at Erie Boulevard, 1700 block SP-20-03. This was a continuation. We've had some updates to the application based on comments raised in earlier public hearings, and we close the hearing tonight. Is there a motion on this application?
I move approval. Go ahead.
Motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special permit is approved. Next is the re-subdivision on Elk Street, R-20-06. Is there a motion on this?
Move to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to note that this will be a slightly larger parcel than the rest on the block, but it's one of the streets that's been truncated by its closest to 81, so I think it's a reasonable deviation from the existing setup.
Thank you for that comment. Further discussion or comment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The Elk Street re-subdivision is approved. Now, the first of 3 applications concerning the same project and the same location. The first being the change of zone proposed for the Richmond Avenue site, Z-2827. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved, and it will proceed now to the Common Council for further action. Next on this same site is the proposed re-subdivision, as described earlier in the presentation, R-20-08. Is there a motion on this?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Re-subdivision is approved. The last of these 3 related applications is the Planned Development District. This is Z-2825M1. Is there a motion on this?
I'll move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That district plan is approved. It also now moves to the Common Council for action by the council. Next is the re-subdivision on South Salina Street, 1600 block, R-20-09. Excuse me. Is there a motion on this?
Declaration?
Second.
Discussion?
I think it's
Yeah, I
important to note two things. The first is that the two lots that'll be created now are consistent with the traditional setup of that National Register Historic District. And second is that any future development and additional re-subdivisions will hopefully take into account the comments that were made regarding the property to the rear on Kennedy.
I think the same. Like those defining factors should be considered going forward, and actually, I'm probably going to be not agreeing with pushing it forward today. I think we should hold it and get some more insight on what it would potentially look like going forward.
The project that will follow that you talked about with the RFP?
Correct.
Yeah, that we have no details on this evening, and so this one is just the re-subdivision application, and we don't have a timetable, I don't think, in terms of
Well, this is in order to give that residence, that dwelling, a legal driveway.
Right.
Well, one thing that was explained was the effect the driveway would have on people in that community, the residents. So I think that should be considered before pushing this through.
So we're talking about the driveway already that exists on Salina.
Correct.
You're
Pardon.
thinking about a proposed driveway that
Yes.
may come as a
Pardon.
result
Yes.
of a project in the future off of East Kennedy.
Correct. Part of it.
Okay.
Clarification, help?
Yes, I'm good.
Any other comments on this application? Then, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision for the 1600 block of Salina is approved. We are now at the 3-mile limit case in the town of Clay, 3S-20-05. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The 3-mile limit is approved. We now have 2 items for modification consideration. Heather, would you please outline them one by one, please?
The first is Z2802M1. It's a project plan review modification to modify the signage for the National Veterans Resource Complex on property situated at 801, 841 South Krause Avenue. The Planning Commission approved a project plan in October of 2017 to construct the 4-story National Veterans Resource Complex. This approval included 2 wall signs totaling 56.5 square feet. The applicant is now requesting to install one 5.7 square foot wall sign on the west elevation and one 40 square foot wall sign on the south elevation, and one 37.5 square foot externally illuminated ground sign facing South Krause Avenue, and one 48 square foot externally illuminated ground sign facing Waverly Avenue. This proposal reduces the overall square footage of the 2 wall signs previously approved, but increases the overall number of signs from 2 to 4 due to the addition of the 2 ground signs, and increases the overall sign area from 56.5 square feet to 131.2 square feet. The proposal necessitates a waiver from the zoning rules and regulations to allow for the 2 ground signs. That's why it's before you as a modification consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you have any questions that I am unable to answer, the applicant is here.
So first, let's start with questions regarding the application. And especially if we need the expertise of the applicant to fill us in. And we have a little update that Jeff just handed us from Thursday that I think corrects some material that we had previously in our packet. So is everyone aware of what's being proposed?
Yes.
Are there any questions while we have the applicant?
No.
Then I think our next question is the commission comfortable acting upon this evening, or does anyone see a need for a formal hearing?
No.
Good. Okay. In that case, I would ask if there is a motion one way or the other on this application.
Move approval, even though the minimum line, so we don't need negative declaration. I'll say move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The signage application is approved. Thank you for being here. And we move to a second item under this category, also sign modification, but also floor plan modification. Can you summarize this one, please?
SP 0802M2 is a special permit modification for a restaurant on property at 316 South Clinton Street. The applicant is looking to modify the floor plan and signage for an existing restaurant, essentially to reflect a change in tenant from Biblos to Three Lives. The application includes installing a 30-inch double-sided projecting sign that totals 10 square feet, as well as a 4-square-foot window sign. The applicant is requesting entertainment consisting of 16 amusement devices, and then additional uses. A correction there is all the floors above, second, third, fourth, and fifth floors are office uses. There are no dwelling units in the building. The Planning Commission did approve a special permit for a restaurant in July of 2008, and then a non-substantial modification subsequent to that for a change in tenant. The proposal necessitates a waiver with respect to the sign regulations to allow the 4-square-foot window sign.
Preservation Board provide comments?
Comments from the Preservation Board?
I hope so.
And while you're searching, what are the amusement things? Devices, is that what they're called?
Video games.
Video games. Okay.
I did not get her comments.
You said no residential on the 5th floor?
That is correct. It's all office space. And I do not have the Landmark Preservation Board's comments. I'll be happy to run next door and get them.
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessary. Why don't we, I think it would be important, since their comments, they have it under review, if they didn't provide comments yet, I think we perhaps have the luxury of holding this to another meeting and have their comments in hand before we act. That would seem prudent on our part. And we're nearing the end of the meeting anyway, so no matter how quickly you run over and back, we may or may not be here. So if the commission members are okay, let's hold this, have the actual comments, whatever they might be, from the Preservation Board before we render a decision on this one. So with that being the case, we'll hold this over for the next meeting. And before we move to the authorizations, is there anything else that wasn't the agenda that we need to deal with this evening? So we will have, as best we know, 7 hearings authorized for the March 16th meeting. We will hold over SP-08-02M2. And
I have a question about one of the cases we'll consider at the next meeting. It's the last one, R2013. That's quite some land assemblage. Do we know why? But whatever it is, they're just coming in for a subdivision at this point.
The properties are currently covered in asphalt,
Right.
Used as parking lots, and the property owners are seeking to just combine all these properties that are currently under asphalt into 2 new lots to reflect the actual land usage layout as far as property lines.
So there's no proposed change in use. It's for some other purpose. Administrative, legal, ownership.
Correct.
Would you like us to get some more information for you before you authorize it?
I wouldn't mind having more information. That's just, that would be 2 big lots. It just sort of begs the question.
Okay, so let's get you some more information
Church.
so you can make an informed decision.
Just maybe verify why they want to do this.
Okay.
so should we leave it on our list for authorizations?
I mean, I'd be okay with that. Just be nice if by the
Okay,
meeting,
and-
we could have some clarification.
Like some additional information, because it's both sides of the street.
Yeah.
We might as well know.
All right, so we'll leave it on the list for authorizations. Staff will try to obtain some additional information on the eventual purpose for this. And so with that clarification, is there a motion to authorize the hearings for the 16th of next month?
So moved.
It's all right.
I just have one request to authorize another one. It's a special permit for a car wash, and it's the former Babies R Us building on Park near the mall and the regional market that the potential or a new owner wants to keep the existing building and make it a car wash. So we do have that application, and they did request us to ask you if this could be on the next agenda.
It's a complete application?
Yes.
Well, I think you are in luck because we haven't completed our vote, and I think the maker of the motion might be willing to consider amending his motion to include an 8th authorization for the 16th.
Open to amending to accept another authorization for the next meeting, of course. Thank you.
Is it any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So we have those authorized for our next meeting. And then if there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We're adjourned until the 16th.
They're going to do something with the building. I'm guessing have to open part of it up for a car wash. Maybe
So if this is Fayette, continue.